A lot of my supervisors and people and colleagues, they all ask, is there anything we can do? I'm like, my first instance is I want to go over there and help. My mom is here, she's safe. My family is here, they'll take care of her here. But what about everybody else? The department knew, obviously, that I'm very connected with the island, and I made it very obvious that I wanted to help in any way I could. And as soon as the announcement went out asking for volunteers, I immediately offered myself as a volunteer.
A previous job of mine, one of the things that we monitored were natural disasters. So I was kind of aware of the pattern and the resiliency that's needed in place for an infrastructure to continue after a natural disaster. So as I was monitoring what was going on in Puerto Rico, the thought occurred to me, I wonder if they're gonna send, National Guard, or if they're gonna send even police officers. So once word got out that there was a request put in for Virginia, I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go out and help.
I thought, this would be an awesome way to give back. When this presented itself, I didn't hesitate. I was like, you know what? I can give back to the community. I can give back to the island. Personally, I wanted to go back because I haven't been back there since 2000. So, it was a privilege and honor. I can't think, how much it took for the county to say, you know what, we're going to send 12 of our people down there, with all the liability, with everything that could happen, and that we did it, and we did it well.
It hit me once we were close to the airport. As I look down, I see all these little blue patches. It took me a couple of seconds to realize, wow, those are blue tarps on top of people's houses. So that was the first sign of devastation that you actually see. You look down and you see, a lot. It's very obvious.
As we're traveling to the area where we're going to be working, you just look around and you see, barren trees, street signs down, signs that are over an interstate on the shoulder, electrical poles into houses, billboards into buildings. You could definitely see aftermath. And even arriving from the plane, you could see that trees were missing half of their sides. And it didn't look lush and green, it looked barren and recovering.
So, driving away from the airport, you could see road signs, were toppled over. I distinctly remember the telephone poles were made of concrete and they were knocked over. So, and as we got close to where we were housed, it was more of a rural area. So you could see that, the vegetation, the trees, everything, structures, and there was, a sense of some kind of normalcy with people, and moving around and whatnot, but electricity still wasn't restored, schools still weren't in session, cell phone service was spotty, and Wi-Fi was non-existent.
When we spoke with either the civilians there or we spoke with the police there, they're balancing their day-to-day routine with having to overcome and adapt, not having anything. To the point where, washing your clothes, this is, 70 days straight of not having a washing machine, so just hanging it out and it's too humid to dry it, just little things that you take for granted, that they've managed to just live without and still keep their heads up.
Once we landed, the welcoming and from the Puerto Rico Police Department was, it was great. It was fantastic. They embraced us. They thanked us. They were really happy to see us. And we were escorted to where the town that we were going to be working. In our case, we worked from Rio Grande. It was a little town adjacent to Loíza Aldea, and a very, very poor town. They had no electricity, but we were up to the task. I was the leader of my group. It was 4 of us, and we were all willing to help in any way they asked us to, and so we did.
So our mission, and on the surface, you're like, oh, I'm going to fly down there just to direct traffic, but you don't really think about the fact that there were probably about 10 intersections in our sector, and each one required 2 to 4 officers per intersection. So you're thinking about roughly 20, 30 personnel that we freed up. Just us and the other departments that sent people, because they had been working, nonstop since it all started. So with the ability for us to control the intersections during the day, it cut down on accidents, obviously. It freed up personnel to do other police-related stuff, it's patrol and whatnot. While we were there, we also met folks from all over the United States that answered the call for service down there, other departments, state police departments, and they were in similar capacities. Some went on patrol with the Puerto Ricans, but our main mission was to augment them and to relieve them from those traffic posts so they can do other police-related function.
We were paired up with people who either detectives or instructors, so that all hands on deck could go and work patrol, answer calls for service. Keeping in mind that these officers are also balancing their own home life, so every now and then they would let us know, hey, listen, I have FEMA's coming to my house. Do you mind if I run out, or I'll be right back? If you need anything, just call me, let me know. But they really are dealing with quite a lot, and without a day off. So I think us being there was definitely a relief for them. And primarily, I could see it on Thanksgiving because we took over, the intersections as best as we could. Just knowing that people could now go home and see their families on Thanksgiving. That was probably the most rewarding for me.
People will immediately, they look at your shoulder, look at your patch, and they say, thank you, Virginia, for helping. But the one thing that was always present is we were thanked, we were welcomed, and people show that. They stop, they will, give us the food, they will thank us, they will ask where you're from, and they will give us thumbs up as you wave them through the intersection after they wait there for a while. They took time to thank us, to acknowledge that they were grateful for what we were doing. I want people to know that I know that local, not just the police department, but the citizens of Puerto Rico are extremely grateful for everything that we as a nation have done for them.
People were amazing. We didn't know what to expect, so we're directing traffic. It's hot. And not quite used to the humidity. And people are stopping by, giving us water, they're giving us food, and they're like, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. And so it was like very humbling that these folks that don't have much are that appreciative, and they're willing to give what little they have.
They were incredibly appreciative to this day. I've spoken to them today as well, and they really do appreciate the support. I think from the police side, I think they genuinely felt like no one's coming to help or no one's listening, and to see such a big group of jurisdictions come together, officers were in tears, thankful, and that support boosted their morale to know that they weren't alone. There are a lot of people who had to call out, and they just had a shortage, and people were just fatigued and at their breaking point. And one of the officers told me that the only reason that they came in was because we were there, that they would have just felt without hope, without without that support. So it's even the smallest thing can really change somebody's outlook or their morale or their situation, and it's very gratifying to know that, you know, even the things that I don't realize are giving somebody else a little bit more hope and normalcy.
Professionally, it was a privilege to work as a police officer in another, you know, jurisdiction, in another territory. So, you know, there's that as well. But overall, I think it's because it's the right thing to do. When VDEM sent the message out and said, hey, any department that can meet this, you know, call for help, let us know. Arlington didn't hesitate. You know, we're just like Prince William County, just like Hampton, and any other departments that went there from Virginia or from across the country. It was I'm very proud to have been part of that effort. So I think we have a wonderful relationship with the community here. And, you know, if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would. And I would say to the county government, you know, and to our chief, thanks for giving me the opportunity.
If the opportunity arises, absolutely, I will be the first one to sign up again to go help. Whether it's still due to Maria or something else happens in the future, some of these things are less predictable, or they aren't predictable. But yes, I would definitely go back, without a doubt, without a doubt.
When I got back, I felt like I really hadn't done enough. I felt, sure, you know, I'm directing traffic, but there was time where I had a lunch break that I could have been doing something else, and I felt very down about it because I felt like my work wasn't done. I felt like I'd left family there. I felt like I'm just not through yet. So in order to deal with that, I tried to keep things into perspective and say, hey, listen, I did a good job at what I was supposed to do at the time. I completed that task well, and I provided what I had to provide and then some. So I tried to kind of put into perspective for myself. And then every day, like I said, I do check in with the people that we've left down there. If they're in need of something, you know, they'll let us know, but they've been just so appreciative that, you know, it doesn't really get to that point. I think for me, if there was an opportunity to go back, I would go back tomorrow. I'd go back in the morning. It was just really unbelievably gratifying to me. And I think that I don't know if they're going to put out another request, and if they do, I don't know if it's going to reach Virginia, and if they do, I don't know if it's going to reach Arlington, but should that happen, yeah, count me in.